For many of you, you will recognize the voice of our next guest, and now you get to see him in person. Someone you hear on the radio, and now you get to meet Joel Riddell of Dining Around.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
I'm here in the flesh, not just by radio waves.
You know, I listen to you all the time, and you know, we've met before, and we've chatted over delicious food and delicious drinks, and that's your business.
It is. I'm really fortunate to have found myself a place that has to do with food, wine, and travel, and I get to do a little bit of each all the time, so my job doesn't get boring or mundane. It's always something exciting to do, always something fun, and yeah, rough life. Even the most mundane, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Where are you from originally?
I grew up in Niagara, Canada.
That's right. We were talking about that.
Vineyards and wineries, and the last time I was there, I was doing a piece for a magazine on Inniskillen Winery, which is a fantastic ice wine company in Niagara, and it's now owned by Constellation, which is a larger group, but they allow a certain amount of autonomy, which is really important, I think, for the winemakers to be able to really control what they produce. But it's this beautiful area, and they're telling me about it, and they're giving me all of this wonderful history, and in my mind, all I can think of is, my aunt used to tie grapes here. Like, I know, we used to run around in these vines, but I mean, you don't want to break that barrier.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I went to school in upstate New York, and I would never have thought of it as wine country until I got there.
Well, if you think about Napa, Sonoma, Lodi, a lot of the places in Northern California, when they first started to produce wine, they didn't really know what to plant, all of them, or they didn't know how to work with the vinifera vines, and not that I know any better than any of the winemakers, but it's this situation where they needed to develop the vines, they needed to develop which vines work best where, and I think that happened in Niagara as well. They planted an awful lot of stuff, some of which
took and some.
Exactly. And then working with what you have, realizing that the white wine grapes do better, and realizing that you really do need to put them on oak, or you really do need to hold them for a little bit longer, or that embrace what you have. If it's something that should be consumed younger and it's brighter, don't try to change it into something else. Right. So there's a lot of really great wineries in the Niagara region, you know, to go and visit and drink and all the rest of it.
So how did a nice kid from Niagara make his way west?
I was on my way to New Zealand. I had a job
in New Zealand. Was it like a long layover or something?
Random, totally random. I was on my way to New Zealand to teach school. I have a degree in education, and stopped in the San Francisco Bay Area for a couple of weeks and found there was a need at that time for web development with ABC, and started doing a little bit of that, and started to do a little assisting work for Gene Burns, who's a great guy and the host of Dining Around, and he gave me a job. And I've developed that into a few other projects.
Yeah, because it wasn't like you grew up and said, hi, I'm a foodie.
No,
no,
certainly not. And my mother's a terrible cook. I love her, but she's
going to see this on YouTube now.
I know. But we always tease her, and she's like, I'm really not a terrible cook. And she's not maybe anymore, but when we were kids, there were 5 of us. And she's a good Irish Catholic household, and there were lots of kids, and lots of friends of kids and friends, and it was really a thankless job. So I think that a lot of those people
Couldn't you do soda bread, though?
What is soda bread?
Yeah, Irish soda bread.
It's nasty stuff. No, there are terrible things out there in the world. No. Boiled beef, boiled cabbage, boiled fish, boiled chicken.
But boiled water, how hard is that? Your mom can do that, right?
She can totally do that. And let's not talk about my mother anymore, because she's going to find out and really
We love you.
I love my mother. Yeah. But she now is a much better cook, because she cooks Indian, and she cooks Italian, and she cooks international as well, not just sort of what's there. But I think that one part of growing up that really affected me was the fact that we had a big garden, and we had neighbors who had gardens, and we had a farmer's market, and we had all of these things that were local and available to us, and we had a great big freezer in our basement, and my mother said it could fit 7 dead bodies, because there were 7 of us, and so she would make wonderful pie fillings and things like that. And I know I just said she's not a good cook, but she would do those things with what was in the garden and what was available. It was never terribly expensive, and you knew some of the farmers.
So she was the start of this whole slow food movement.
Well, at least in my household she was. And for me, and for that moment in time when somebody says, oh, well, I picked these are frog hollow peaches and they've come from a tree, I'm like, I know frog hollow peaches come from trees. Like, I know that, but not everybody grew up in an environment that was close to the land. A lot of people lived in cities, and that's okay. And a lot of people went away to university and they stayed in dorms and they ate, the freezer dried whatever. That's okay too. But rediscovering those things that are so close to our hearts and give us those taste memories and those food memories, I think it's really important. You grew up in that area.
Yeah.
Don't you think it's really wonderful to have a peach or an apple?
Oh yeah, I went to school in upstate New York. I grew up in Virginia, but with a farm family.
Right.
And so fresh vegetables were part of my life. And now we find out that's like the cool, new, expensive thing. Right. And I have to admit, one of the things I like about hearing you on the radio is, it's not, hi, I know more about food than anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, That's, to me, very off-putting. You make food approachable.
Thank you. I've been fortunate to meet some really amazing people during my food career. Julia Child, Margaret Mandavi, other people who really have this sort of great grasp on what's being grown and what's being cooked. And the modern people, Rick Bayless and Michael Chiarello, who pay so much attention to what's going on the plate. And they're professionals. Maybe I'm a professional eater, but I don't know everything, and I'm constantly surprised and excited about things. But I do go home and cook myself. I made short ribs today. Amazing, delicious short ribs from a Trevigny recipe that Michael Chiarello developed. But having that closeness to what's going on in the plate, and we can all learn and discover, I think.
Right. Now, you say that you're a professional eater, but you also clearly are a cook. I mean, my husband of 13 years, he's the cook. I wash a mean dish. What about your other half?
I can cook. Robert is an amazing cook. Robert is, I would say if we were doing a dinner party, he would be the executive chef and I would be the sous chef. But there's a new expression that came up recently, and it's called gavery.
Oh, we're going to talk about gavery for the first time of the show. I'm dying.
Okay.
Tell me.
So gavery is when you don't let your partner drink a cocktail before the meat comes out of the oven. So here you are, you're cooking, you're chopping, you're all of the rest of it, and you've got this, $250 piece of whatever it is, shell roast, a big whole piece of New York, and it's in the oven, and you know it's going to come out at some point, and you don't want anybody getting all floofy before it happens, because you have to be specific about when the meat comes out of the oven, because you want it to rest.
So gavery is like the martini manager.
Absolutely. And I'm no, and he said, oh my God, that's gavery. So that's the newest expression in our household, at least. So.
Do you think now we have reached our limit of food shows? I mean, I'm from the South, so
I hope not.
I mean, I love all these Southerners.
I'm working on one myself. Don't tell me that. I think there's a lot of area for expansion. I think that some things, like anything, think of way back when there was like Hill Street Blues and stuff like that. There were all of these cop dramas, and then there were all of these CSI dramas, and there were all these hospital dramas. Not bad, just there became many of them. So with television, people like what's new and what's different. I think with food, people are still discovering some of the wonderful things. I think it's going to go from the contestant-driven, which is not bad. It's totally fun, and I love getting
You like
excited.
Iron Chef?
All those shows. Are you kidding me? I sit there and I get hungry while I'm watching them. Bravo TV does a great Top Chef show, and I mean any of those things, because there's so much excitement involved. I mean, obviously every once in a while you're like, whatever. But the most of the time you want to engage with those people because you want to be excited about them. And so
do you also think it's because you want the audience member to identify with you?
Perhaps.
And feel like they can do it.
Yeah, or meet them. I mean, these are not huge celebrities. These are people who have done really, so you go and see Ryan Scott, for example, who was on Bravo TV, and you find out where his truck is, and you can go and see him in San Francisco and have some of his threesome eats. Or you go down to the Sir Francis Drake Hotel and you look for Jen Beastie at Scala's or whatever. It's fun to be able to make those connections because you're thinking to yourself, well, I saw you on television, and that's very cool. But they can cook. They really can cook, and those who don't lose out really, really quickly. So no, I don't think it's over yet.
Yeah. Do you think the Bay Area is still, if not the food capital of the United States, one of? Have we lost any of our edge?
This is the capital of American gastronomy, absolutely. There are moments of lull, and if you keep going back to the same places, you'll see that. There are moments of lull, but we have these amazing places to grow vegetables and fruits. We have wineries, we have spirits. Think about it right now. There are spirits companies in the city of San Francisco, and all the way up. In Belmont, there's Old World Spirits, and there's 209 Gin, and then there are these crazy guys like at 15 Romolo, and they're making these special cocktails. I think it continues to develop.
Well, and also, I mean, to me, one of the things that I think is interesting is now, I talked to someone just the other day and I said, oh, you got to check out the wineries on Treasure Island. They're like,
wineries on Treasure Island?
I said, there's 5. Treasure Island Wines was there first, and now you've got others.
Alameda.
Yeah, and now people can actually go and do a wine experience in the middle of the bay. I mean, what's next? What's the next, only in San Francisco?
Oh, not fair to ask me that question right now.
But you'll try.
Okay, so I do think pop-up dinners. This is something that's new. I think it's new.
Okay.
Pop-up dinners. So going to a restaurant like a Cotonia or the Fifth Floor or Destino or something like that, and then them having another chef involved in the dinner. They're doing it at the Taj or the Campton Place on a different scale with Daniel Hum. He's coming back and doing a dinner there. But all around the Bay Area, there are these places that they're doing these, come in, young chefs, sous chefs from other places. Daniel Patterson has done it at Qua.
Pop up.
They pop up. So it is not Qua's menu. Although Qua's menu is fantastic, but it is on a Monday night, it's somebody else's menu. So Melissa Perello is a prime example. She didn't have a restaurant, now she has Francis. She didn't have a restaurant, but she did pop-up dinners at other people's restaurants. And you could follow her on Facebook and tweet, and you're like, oh, I'd really like to do that. It's Monday night, not a problem. There's a specific menu, you get what you pay for, you get what you eat, like they cook it, and it's fun. And I think that's something that foodies and all of us can be really excited about. Now, if it's your first date, perhaps it's not the best thing to do.
Right.
But if it's something you're doing with your partner or you're doing with friends, you're like, I'll get a table for 4. I know that the wine will be good because I know the restaurant's wine list. And this is exciting. So you can go and eat food created by somebody who may not be the executive chef, but who may be an executive chef at some point in the near future.
Do you have to spend a lot of money to get a good meal in San Francisco?
No, but you can spend a lot of money. I mean, there are restaurants like Fleur de Lis, which are spectacular, which are on the higher end of price point, absolutely. But there are lots of little places that you can go as well and enjoy and find delicious things. And so there are places like, let's think about it. Quince is a good example where they have Quince, which is a more expensive restaurant. Right next door is Cotonia, which is less expensive, more approachable. And they do that in France, and they do that in Italy and all sorts of places around the world. But in San Francisco, it's really come on the sort of the second level or the second brand. Not that the food isn't high quality, it is. Chez Panisse did that though decades ago. I mean, there's Chez Panisse and then there's their cafe. And I think that, I don't think people are copying Alice Waters, but I think they're recognizing that not everybody can go out every night and have an expensive meal. And think of the neighborhood spots. We have a little one called the Richmond in our neighborhood, which is spectacular, and it's good, and it's spectacular in that it's warm, delicious food.
It's the same thing like me. I mean, in the Castro, it's Tangerine. It's
okay,
like,
there.
It's like my dining room away from home. It's
your go-to place to go, and it's really, really wonderful. And you'll go there with your partner. I mean, even if it's an anniversary or something like that, you'll say, wait a minute, do I
want
really
to go someplace where I'm recognized?
Absolutely. Do I want to go to Jardiniere? It's fabulous, but maybe not tonight.
In our last few moments, talk to me about your show.
Oh, so Dining Around is a great show. It's heard. You can listen to it.
And your new show.
Oh, well, my new show is coming up. Now I'm doing something called the A-List on KGO Radio, which is great. And I'm working with Jaded Palette Productions on TV Dinner. TV Dinner show. It's broadcast currently on the web, Jaded Palette Productions, TV Dinner show. You can find us on YouTube. It's a great time, and we do these snippets and fun segments, and I'm having a really good time doing it. And they put me in these bizarre situations, and sorry. I'm so shy. Yes,
I know, me
I'm
too.
such a shy, blushing flower. But can you think about it? Hanging out by the food trucks or serving alcohol or anyway, cheese of nondescript nature. I can't go into the details because you have to see it online.
And we will see it online.
Thank you, David.
We've been speaking with Joel Riddell, the brilliant person behind Dining Around. And you're going to have you back on because I want to get some more food tips.
You've got it. Thank you.
Next up, we're going to be talking with Peter Goss and what is the future of the real estate market here in the Bay Area? Up, down, or not changed very much?